you. Okay, hi everyone. My name's Kiara. I'm here from the Music Place, and today I'm going to be taking you through all the different types of barrels and bells that we have here. So whether you're someone that's looking to get into this for the first time, you're not really sure where to start, or you've been using something for a while, it's been working great, but you're kind of looking for the next step or ready to change it up. Hopefully you'll learn something new today. It's always the goal, and take something home with you. So pretty much, the purchasing of addition barrels and bells, this is something that's kind of increasingly gained a bit of popularity in recent years. And a lot of people are looking in the market and trying to find something that might work for their clarinet. And it's a really fantastic way to kind of, change up or amplify your tone and response in a way that doesn't meddle too much with the mouthpiece setup you've got going on. A lot of people really love their mouthpiece, their ligature, and their reed combo. And they're kind of looking for the next thing that they can use to kind of amplify that, boost that, intensify that. Sometimes too, venturing into that kind of mouthpiece territory, sometimes it does take a bit of getting used to, and usually the barrels and bells, it's not as much of a getting used to process. So that's another way to kind of change up your tone and response. Okay, I have my notes here as well, make sure I'm not missing anything. But to kind of kick off the workshop, I want to start talking a bit about Bakun. Bakun's quite a very well-known, well-loved brand, and it's quite leading in this kind of domain. Their barrels and bells, which I will show quickly and soon on, they are made of two different material types, and these are actually manufactured in Canada, Vancouver, Canada. Now, in terms of this process, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming, and the first kind of roadblock you might find yourself kind of encountering is like, what type of material should it be made of? There's so many available, and I'm not really sure where to start. And this is a fantastic question, because it's gonna kind of alter a few things, but the answer is not necessarily as fantastic, in the sense that everything's kind of unique. It's going to differ from person to person. It's kind of like when you get a mouthpiece, and that's working really well, and then someone tells you, oh, try this mouthpiece, it's fantastic, and you give it a go, and it just sounds like rubbish on your instrument. And it happens sometimes. So take this with a grain of salt. I will try and talk more generally about the different types of materials and how these all function and work for your instrument. But at the end of the day, the best way to do it is trying. So it's like your mouthpiece, it's like your ligature, it's like your reed. Trying them is probably the best way to go about it, and that's probably what we'd recommend here. So come in, have a try and see if it works for you, but do use these exclamations to kind of reinforce you and kind of inform your decision making. Okay, so Bakun makes their barrels and bells out of two different types of material, which is what I was saying before, and I haven't described yet. You've got the grenadilla, okay, and they've also got the cocobolo. Now it's a bit hard to see, but the grenadilla is more of a dark brown / blackish kind of color, and then you've got your cocobolo, which is a lot more reddish in color, or a lighter brown. You can kind of see the difference. Hopefully the camera quality is okay. Now, in regards to grenadilla, generally speaking, you will have a kind of brighter tone, it allows for more projection and volume, and it's more so the ideal choice if you're in an orchestra, or if you're playing in a band, a concert band, you might lean more towards that. So our cocobolo kind of generally speaking, has a more warm and dark tone, and it might be more so ideal for your chamber musicians, your soloists. So generally, this is a personal preference thing. So you may find that this works really well for you, and that's fantastic. So what I'll do is I'll play through the different types, and I will play them as I go through the different designs that Bakun have. But I will just quickly play them over, just so you can get a sense of what it sounds like. So first I'll start with the Moba Grenadilla, and I'll kind of play the same bit of a piece, so it's all kind of consistent, and you can kind of see as well as I can show. I'm using a Clark Forbes mouthpiece with a Saxus ligature, and I think it's a size 3 V12 reed as well, if that helps. Okay, so you've got your grenadilla there, and obviously the design of the barrel will differ, but I will now play the Coco Bolo for you in the same design. So even between the two designs, you can see they sound really different already. But I will chat a bit about the MOBAs now, because that's what I've started playing with. So the MOBA is kind of what Bakun kind of deemed to be the primary choice for sort of your orchestral players. And out of the remaining barrels, which I will show you in a bit, it probably has the more so darkest and richest tone. It's quite highly resistant and quite dense, but the resistance isn't something really to shy away from, in the sense that kind of helps direct your air, helps make it more controlled, more focused. So it can always be a good thing too, which is great. In my opinion, it is a lot more German sounding than some of the other barrels, which I will play in a bit, but it does have great projection. I'll play that one more time for you as well. So I'll start with the Grenadilla, and then I'll move on to the Coco Bolo in that one. And I'll kind of do that for the rest of the barrels that we've got here. So it does have kind of a rich sound. There is a bit of resistance that I feel when I'm playing. But obviously the tone color does differ between the wood types, which is really interesting there. So what I have next is a little bit different from the MOBA. And as you can see already, I'll show you. The MOBA is a bit larger. It does have these kind of wooden rings at the top and at the bottom of the barrel. I have the Lumiere next, which is really interesting because this one's kind of characterized to have more of a French sound. Okay. So in terms of its tone color, it is more so on the brighter side. And it doesn't have as much resistance as the MOBA, and you might hear that when I'm trying to play as well. It is quite a resonant barrel, and it can be used more so in a variety of different settings. So you've got your chamber and your solo works. It is more so slimline than the MOBA, which we looked at before. So I'm going to start with the Grenadilla, and then I'll move over into the Coco Bolo as well. We'll see how that sounds in comparison. And I'll move on to the Coco Bolo now. See if you can hear the difference between the two. a lot of these barrels are also at different lengths, which I will explain to you in a bit as well, because that's something really important to consider when you're looking to purchase and see what works for you. Intonation is a really big thing, and I will talk about that in a bit. But I'll just go back to the cocoa bowler for the Lumiere and see how that sounds. So next up, after I take off the Lumiere, we have the new traditional. I'm pretty sure this is one of the first ones that Bakun released, and I think it's the reason why it gained so much success. So it kind of looks like a more slimline version of the MOBA, which is a lot larger. And in terms of tone color and everything like that, it's probably most similar to the Lumiere, which I've just played. This one kind of has a medium kind of resistance, but it is still quite free sounding. It's ideal for your soloist, your chamber musician, but those who are more in the market for your traditional barrel. I only have a Grenadilla one here, but it does come in Cocobolo, but I will play it for you just to get an idea of what it sounds like. Okay. So it does feel quite similar to the Lumiere. I feel like it has a similar tone color too. I feel like you can really hear that. But like I said, you do need to try these, make sure they work for you. But I will move on to the next and last barrel that I have in the Bakun range, and that's the Fat Boy. So they look like this. They're a little bit different to what we've seen before. In terms of size, they're probably most comparable to the MOBA, except without those wooden rings. They are quite a larger barrel. Okay, so first glance, it looks really different. They're more so kind of popular in your jazz scene, your commercial scene, but they're also popular in classical players. I know a bunch of classical players that really swear by these, which is really cool because they're quite versatile. It does have a really big sound. It's quite free blowing, but at the same time, your sound's still quite focused and controlled. And there is a little bit of resistance when playing, but big sound with this one. I will start with the Grenadilla, and then I will move on to the Cocobolo. Okay, so this is the Grenadilla Fat Boy. So while it is quite open and free blowing, I can feel there is still a little bit of resistance, which is great. Like I said, nothing to shy away from. It still helps to kind of control and channel your air. I'll play the Cocobolo version of it now and just see if that sounds any different between the two. Okay. So then again, it does have a different tone color already just between the two different types of wood used. So they're pretty much your Bakun barrels that we've got here as well. Obviously, we do have a Cocobolo version of the new traditional as well that we can get. They are quite well known and well loved barrels, but we do have a few different types, which I'll get onto now. But if you have any questions about these ones, feel free to just send an email, give us a ring, or pop in store. We can tell you a bit more about them, and if there's get you to play them out as well and try them out. Really important there. So I'll move on to the Adoni barrels. These are a bit different. They also come in your Grenadillo Cocobolo. I think the ones I have here are only Grenadillo though. So these kind of produce a more open sound in the original ball. We don't have that one here, but inside the barrel, you've got a plastic tube with a reverse taper. And this is partially kind of in a thin brass pipe. And if you had the barrel here, you can kind of see the gold ring around it. This kind of results in this sort of well-balanced barrel, which has kind of good intonation and resonance, and reaches the right temperature and pitch a lot faster than your kind of standard wood barrel. So that's something really to look out for. You might find that when you're playing with them. Now, these usually come in their original bores, or in their bores. I think it's 3 different types. I don't have an original bore here. Usually that one kind of produces this open and easy free-blowing tone, but it still feels quite resonant. Don't have it here, but I will move on to the medium bore. Okay, and this kind of sits in between the original bore and the US bore, which I have here, which I'll talk about in a second. So this sound is more so focused in comparison to the original bore. And I'll play that for you, just so you can get a sense of what it sounds like. So this is the medium bore in Grenadilla. This one I believe is at a 66 millimeter length. I think the rest of the Bacoons I've tried, a lot of them were 65. Once again, I will chat about length in a second. But that just might be something you want to know as well. It does affect pitch. And the last one in the Adonis that I have, it's really important, is the US bore. So I'm pretty sure this one has a narrower barrel in comparison, a narrow bore, sorry, in comparison to the original, which I don't have here. But this is kind of intended to give you more focus and resistance. And we'll listen to that one. So obviously you've got your original bore, your medium, and then your US bore in terms of if you're going to put them on a scale to work out where they sit. This one's 66 millimeters, the US bore in Grenadilla. So they're another great kind of barrel that you can try out when you come in. Really fantastic. Obviously a bit different to the Bacoon. Still a fantastic barrel as well. A lot of great clarinet players love these ones and swear by them. But I will move on to a really different kind of looking barrel. What's here? So this is one of the Jody Jazz barrels. So this is the Casper CB1 clarinet barrel. So already on first glance, I don't know if you can kind of see, it's kind of got an hourglass shape. And that's already something that looks quite strikingly different to, for example, your Lumiere, which is quite slimline and consistent throughout. Now, something really important about these is they're all about power and projection. So they were kind of created with that intention, but they also wanted to kind of create something that has loud projection, but decreases in resistance. Now, this hourglass shape, kind of bet you're wondering how Jody kind of came up with something like that. This is pretty much designed to kind of model the inside of what the barrel looks like. They kind of just brought it to the outside. Now, embodying this on the outside kind of helps to able to reduce the thickness of the material located inside to increase resonance here. All right, so this is the first barrel that we've also seen that actually isn't made of wood. I think it's made of hard anodized aluminium, and it already feels a lot lighter than the other ones I've tried as well, and obviously very differently shaped. It also looks very different on my clarinet as well. So I'll play this one for you. Remember, it's all about loudness and power. And we'll see if it kind of embodies that when I play. So this one might be good for someone if you've got, maybe you're in a band and you have a pretty loud brass section, you kind of need to cut through that. Something like this might be great, or you're a soloist, you need to cut through all the other instrumentation present. So that's a really cool one. The last barrel that I have here, I'm pretty sure it's the last one, it's the Carbonissimo one. So this is a bit different. I'll get it out for you actually. It's a lot different to what I've seen here. It's already made of a different material again. These are something that we've probably got into our store maybe three or 4 months back. So they're quite new in our shop. If you're not familiar with these, you might have actually guessed from the name that Carbonissimo means that the barrel's made of carbon fiber. So that's kind of their thing. This material from memory is meant to be about 5 times lighter than, stronger than steel. But it is significantly lighter. In terms of where it sits, it does feel quite light in comparison to the CB1 Casper barrel that we just looked at before. The barrel itself isn't super resonant. It's quite open. And in regards to tone color, it's quite light and bright. And it's able to be used in a variety of musical settings. So I'll pop that one on my clarinet as well, just so you can get an idea. So it has quite a nice tone color, quite easily to play through as well. Can't remember the exact length of this one, but I will chat about lengths now because that's really important. So once you've kind of decided on what material you're after or what brand you're looking at, length is something that's super important in this process. So it's kind of imperative that you decide on a length that works for you. Now, the standard length is probably between a 65 to 66 millimeter length, but it also depends on the kind of instrument you have, whether you have an auxiliary clarinet or something like that. Now, the barrel length is really important because it kind of determines what pitch you'll be at when you're playing. So many brands, to kind of compensate for this and allow you to play at your very best, they will offer a lot of barrels in a different range of lengths to make sure that it really fits you and your instrument. But if you're already playing on maybe a stock barrel, like I'm playing it on an R13, I've got my stock buffet barrel, and that's a 66 millimeter one. If that's something that you feel like works for you, amazing, and your intonation's good, stick with that. Try out a size that has the same length as what you're currently playing on if you're happy with intonation, and see if that works for you. If you are not happy with your current intonation, what I'd probably recommend is having a look at what types of lengths they have in stock, or we have in stock, and then just kind of seeing from there whether or not something works for you. So you try them out and you maybe have a 65 and a 66. If you've got something like that, what I probably recommend is getting the 1 millimeter smaller size, because like I said, if you're able to pull out when you're playing, you're not able to push in. So if you get a 66 and it's not always consistent across all registers, and you can't push anymore, because obviously that's all there is to the barrel. If you are looking for the length on your barrel, it should be towards the back of the barrel. Mine has 660 written on the back of it, so I know my length, which is amazing if I were to purchase a new barrel today. If you don't know your length or it's not present, get your measuring tape out, have a look and see if that works for you, especially if you're happy with intonation. One thing I will say as well is if your current barrel is not playing in tune, for example, your sharp, a slightly longer barrel might, suffice and might be better for you. But if you're playing flat, try getting a slightly shorter barrel. But once again, I do recommend trying these out and trying them out across registers, because if it does change the pitch, it changes it across all octaves. So that's pretty much all there is to barrels. The only thing I just want to add as well, just making sure I'm covering everything, is that these barrels should fit kind of all the major standard clarinet brands, your Buffet, your Yamaha. Like I said, try before you buy, come in, we'll have a chat with you, we'll talk you through the process, make sure it fits, but your standard one should fit. Like, they went on pretty smoothly to my R13, my Buffet R13. So the last thing I'll kind of cover today is clarinet bells as well. And the ones that we have at the moment are the Bakun bells. Try and describe these and put these into words. They're kind of like the finishing touch on your instrument. So in terms of your sound, finishing touch on your sound, and finishing touch on your instrument too. You're changing it up, you're putting a new bell on. So we have a few different types in our Bakun ones, and these are quite similarly named to the barrel we have here. So for example, we have the Moba, we have the Lumiere, and I will play those for you. So currently I have two Mobas. I have a Moba and a Grenadilla, and a Moba and a Coca-Cola, and I also have a Lumiere bell as well. What I will start off is with the Mobas and see if that changes anything, and then I'll use my stock barrel as well, actually, and I'll see if that changes anything, and then I will move on to the Lumiere. So we'll start with the Moba Grenadilla. It almost kind of looks like the barrel as well, with the wooden ring at the top, which is really cool. So these bells will kind of have a similar characteristic and sound to the barrels we've seen before as well. So for example, your kind of darker, more warm toned, your sort of Moba, that will kind of correlate, as well as your Lumiere, more French sounding, and the same settings as well. So this is my Moba Grenadilla bell, and I'll play that for you. So I'll move on to the Moba Coca-Cola. So then again, different sounding between the woods. They're really fantastic bells as well. And like I said, they look really similar to the barrels. So I'll pop them aside. And I will finish up with our last bell we've got here. The Lumiere, pretty sure it has carbon fiber at the top. I mean, you can't see very well, but it does have carbon fiber at the top. And I'll play that for you as well, just to end off the session. So that's your Lumiere, quite French sounding. Also really looks like the barrel as well, and that's just in the Grenadilla. So if you have any more kind of questions or queries, or you want to chat a bit further about this, please feel free to give us a call, email us, or come in the shop. We're more than happy to have a chat about this kind of stuff and help you find your perfect fit, really. So thanks for coming tonight. I think we might end it here.